Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me as we take a look at kind of a special forecast. It's going to be a weekend forecast and also a forecast for Debby and its potential impact on us. Definitely bears some watching. I'm bringing the forecast to you because there are some flooding concerns. I wouldn't be definitely not in panic mode yet. Right now, actually, the overnight forecast has moved in a way that looks more positive for us in terms of not seeing the kind of rain that would really cause huge problems. But that is still not out of the question, and so we definitely want to keep an eye on this. I know this is not what anybody wants to hear. I wish as well that this was not what we were talking about, but we're going to hope that that this does not come to fruition in any kind of significant stance. So basically, we're going to talk a lot about track here and about exactly where the heaviest of the rain is going to fall, why it's going to fall in the spots that it's going to fall, and what could affect it in terms of whether or not we see that. So there's basically three things going on. Two of them you can definitely see on the satellite imagery. First of all, here's Debby. Doesn't actually look that impressive on satellite. It's been over land. A lot of dry air has made its way into the center of the storm. It's going to spend today over the ocean. That's going to help rebuild the core some, but there's been so much dry air, and it's going to take a while. There's still certainly the kind of spin in the atmosphere, and as it gets over, this water is quite warm off the coast of the Carolinas, but it's not going to be out there for that long, and the storm has really kind of, like I said, a lot of dry air has moved in. However, there's still plenty of moisture, and it really doesn't matter how much it reef strengthens for us. It's more about track and its interaction with this system here to our north, and also a little bit this boundary layer, which has brought us the showers and storms that we've had over the last few days. Finally, that's sunk south of us. If you've gone outside this morning, we have definitely started to cool. We have brought some drier air in. That'll move back in our direction as Debby heads in our direction. And everything is kind of getting slowed down. And how Debby interacts with this system to our north is going to determine, and exactly the track it takes is going to determine who gets the heaviest rain. We're all going to get heavy rain, but who gets the heaviest rain? And there's a ridge out here over the Atlantic, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, that's going to play a role in that, and how much it builds across the Northeast and pushes Debby to the west is going to matter. Essentially, if you're, for southern Vermont purposes, this is going to sound terrible if you're in upstate New York or western New York and western Pennsylvania. But for us, we want Debby to move west. That is good. We'll still get heavy rain as it comes through, but it'll come through quicker. It's where it kind of goes south to north is going to be the problem here. What angle that takes. Does it take kind of a southwest to northeast angle? That would be very bad for us. Does it take a pure south to north angle? That's what the models are kind of looking for now. That's what looks like the ridge is doing. And that would be better for us, worse for western Pennsylvania and western New York. Unfortunately, somebody is going to get some really bad, probably pretty significant flooding out of Debby across the Northeast. It's just a matter of who at this point. Let's take a look at radar. You can see still plenty of rain certainly associated with it, and then a lot of incredibly juicy air associated with partially Debby throwing moisture at this front, at this weak boundary layer. And again, we've got this next storm, which is also kind of providing us with a bit of a kicker to move the storm once it finally gets here. So let's take a look at Debby a little more closely before we look at that upper level, which is going to kind of tell the whole story. As you can see, we are starting to see some more clouds form around the center of the system. That is it's gonna try to rebuild a core. That's unlikely, like I said, to happen because of just where things are at. And of course, all of this is playing a role in exactly what's going to happen with the ridge. One thing that happens with tropical systems is they actually put as they develop, especially, they push a lot of heat into the atmosphere, which builds ridges to the east. A lot of times, it's partially what is causing the ridge to the east of this to nose towards us. And again, that's good for us as it will tend to push Debby a little further west. Let's take a look at that ridge. We're going to talk about an upper level. So here's the upper level. Here's Debby on the upper level. This is the 500 millibar heights as compared to average. So blue areas are where the heights are lower than average. Ridges or areas where they're higher than average at 500 millibars is in the red areas. So you can see here's our storm to our northwest that's going to kind of eventually absorb, or Debby and it are going to kind of merge. It's going to also be the thing that pushes Debby out and accelerates it. Here's our ridge to the east, and you can see right now it's kind of being pushed by this front that has sagged south to us. But what happens is, as Debby starts to move a little bit further north, as it continues to push heat and moisture up the coast, it is going to push the boundary layer, and this trough here, which is kind of finally moved through us, a little bit further north, and that's going to allow this ridge to build in across New England. And that's going to take Debby from yesterday. It looked more like Debby might kind of track directly over us, or the remnants. There's not going to be much of a storm left that's like itself, but the remnants of it to track directly over us, and instead track mostly to the west and then kind of come through at the east as it merges with this storm as more of a front. That will still mean very heavy rain overnight Friday, and it will come down potentially incredibly hard for an hour or two, but only for an hour or two, as opposed to like 10, 12 hours of heavy rain that could happen west of us. Now, it is definitely possible that this ridge does not build west as much as we would think, that our front continues to be a little bit stronger than it's modeled here, and Debby takes more of a southwest to northeast track as the ridge is weaker, and it doesn't get kicked out until after we've already seen a lot of rain and we get multiple hours of that kind of rain. We could take a couple hours, 2-3 hours of very heavy rain. It wouldn't be great. We could see some culverts and things like that have some issues, but the rivers will stay basically within their banks. They'll come way up, but they'll stay within their banks. It's if we get that 5, 6, 7, 8 hour period of rain where you're getting an inch of rain an hour, an inch to 2 inches of rain an hour over a 4 or 5 hour period, where you get 5 or 6 inches of rain in 6 hours. That's where we start to get the real huge problems that happen across southern Vermont. So hopefully that is not going to be the case. It doesn't look right now, the models don't indicate that's the most likely case, but it is still possible, so we have to be in prepare mode. Let's take a look at the overall track. Here's Debby by tomorrow, midday. You can see it's moved back inland, and the further west it goes, the better for us. Our low pressure is still well off to our north and west, and basically the ridge is starting to build in here across the northeast. And it basically is Debby going to take, right now the models seem to indicate, and all the models seem to indicate, that Debby takes basically a south to north track. So you can see that as we go forward into Friday, we're into kind of southwestern Pennsylvania. Our front to the north hasn't really started to move too much. They're starting to interact. This is squeezing more moisture out of Debby. Whenever you get a front and a hurricane or remnants, Debby may be a depression, not even a tropical storm at this point, but just for purposes of just to see what things are going. You do have that interaction, which is definitely still going to give you lots and lots of rain. If we go ahead to Friday overnight, as this system starts to really move, finally it gets kind of a kick and starts to move, it's going to start to move Debby, and Debby tends to go way north of us. At this point, Debby, though, will have kind of a front, this front, and Debby will have kind of combined, and that's where we'll potentially get some very heavy rain overnight Friday night. Could be anywhere from like 10 o'clock at night Friday through about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, somewhere in there. But if it comes through as a front, it looks like only an hour or two. It'll almost just feel like a line of heavy thunderstorms without probably a lot of the lightning, but with some very heavy rain that doesn't last that long. It's a problem, but it's not a huge problem. Let's see about, and then by Saturday, we've kicked everything well out to our north and east. So what does that mean in terms of what I'm thinking right now? Debby will bring flooding rains to parts of the northeast. That's almost a guarantee. But it's the area that sees the prolonged sustained rain. Right now, the most likely area to see flooding rain is upstate New York, even western New York, and western Pennsylvania. Certainly, we are not out of the cone of possible places that could happen, though. Yesterday, the models were closer to us. Definitely, they were still trending a little bit more west. The trend has continued, but sometimes the trend moves back east. Really, it depends today on how far east does Debby get and how far tomorrow does Debby move west. And exactly how the ridge over the Atlantic sets up. And those are little tiny details that definitely could change. Winds will not be a problem. Don't worry about the wind with this. Even if we get the worst of the rain, wind will not be a problem. We will need to monitor the situation closely over the next 48 hours because, like I said, somebody will get heavy flooding rains, and we are not out of the realm of possibility. We are in the lower probability area for that right now, but we are definitely still need to be aware of it. If you live in a place, or if you are, if you have interests in a flood-prone area, if there's some stuff that you think you should do a couple days out, even if it's just making the plans. Hey, if it trends back towards us and it looks real bad tomorrow or Friday, what am I going to do? What are the plans to get ready for Friday overnight into Saturday morning? That's when the flooding would occur if there is any flooding. Even if the storm tracks to our west, we will probably see 1 to 3 inches of rain. Again, that could cause some like a ponding on the road kind of issues, obviously, and a few culverts and things like that. Nothing that would be too dramatic, but definitely something that will be, it's going to rain hard. You're going to hear it rain as it comes through overnight on Saturday night at the very least. In terms of the rest of the weekend, just to kind of give you an idea of what's happening here. Friday, a little bit of rain. We will probably see some showery rain if the track goes as it is now. The showery rain on Friday, which wouldn't amount to too much, maybe a quarter to a half an inch of rain, and temperatures kind of very soupy in the upper 70s. Heavy rain would come through overnight. A few morning showers, rain moving to showers, which would dissipate to kind of mostly cloudy skies on Saturday. Temperatures still kind of soupy Saturday. We start to lose the humidity by the afternoon. Overnight, we don't clear out entirely, but we definitely cool down and the humidity levels fall. Sunday is pretty nice. There could be some afternoon sprinkles. Still a lot of clouds, but definitely humidity levels fall dramatically for Sunday. It won't feel nearly as tropical. And then overnight Saturday into Sunday, we're back around 60 degrees. Quick highlights for the weekend as we just kind of continue through the forecast. All eyes are obviously on the remnants of Debby. Heaviest rain and flooding threat comes overnight Friday into early Saturday morning. Could be even late or during the afternoon on Friday if the track moved a little bit. So basically, earliest we could see any issues would be like Friday afternoon. But I think right now it looks like it's more of a Friday night into Saturday thing. The most likely area for flooding has shifted west of southern Vermont. I want to keep emphasizing that. Right now, I wouldn't be overly concerned, but definitely want to be preparing. We should all be making plans for flooding chances because the track could shift. It has shifted in the last day. It wouldn't be strange to see it shift again. By Saturday evening, the humidity drops and cooler, drier air moves in. So hopefully I will be back. I'll give an update on this forecast tomorrow morning. Maybe on Friday we'll as well. We'll kind of obviously keep a monitoring on what's going on. If you have any questions, certainly you can send them through Facebook to me. I'll try to get back to those today. Or you can, if you go to the website, which is westriverweatherguy.com, there is my emails on there and things like that. You can send emails if you've got specific questions. Certainly, like I said, hopefully this track that has shifted west tonight stays intact. Hopefully for us, it's not great. Obviously, somebody's going to get the rain. But for here in southern Vermont, that would be good for us. And yeah, I know this is really kind of traumatic after last summer. I appreciate that nobody wants to deal with this kind of thing, but I just want to keep you updated on that. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow morning with an update on the forecast. I do want to give a quick shout out to my patrons to help make the West River Weather Guy happen, and I appreciate their help. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can certainly check the link in the description below. It talks about what patrons get for extra forecasts and things like that. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel before, I'd encourage you to do so. Helps make sure you don't miss any videos, especially stuff like this during the summer where I don't always forecast, but where you're getting some special forecasts on impactful weather. And obviously, as we head towards winter, you get a lot more forecasts as the snow starts to become something that we're worried about. All right. I'll be back tomorrow. Stay safe out there. Get planning. And we're all going to hope for the best that things go west of us.